By the late 1970s, Hyundai's motor division was bleeding cash. They had operated at a strict financial loss for 7 consecutive years, and their assembly lines were effectively running on fumes. This chart shows the root of their problem. In the 1970s, the entire consumer base of South Korea purchased a combined total of roughly 30,000 cars a year. That was a hard ceiling, making it mathematically impossible for Hyundai to achieve profitable scale at home. Exporting their first vehicle, the Hyundai Pony, proved disastrous. The cars suffered severe mechanical breakdowns, and the paint literally faded in the heat. Financial advisors reviewed the compounding losses and gave the management team a simple recommendation: liquidate the motor company immediately. But total failure removes safe options. Hyundai was backed into a corner with a binary choice: accept immediate death or try an irrational risk. The company's founder, Chung Ju-Yung, refused to quit. He had built his fortune aggressively scaling massive construction projects, and he intended to apply that exact same blunt force logic to building cars. This animated diagram illustrates Chung's proposed solution. He ordered the construction of a brand new factory with an annual output of 300,000 cars, 10 times larger than the entire demand of his home country. The economics were terrifying. A factory that size requires massive overhead. If they couldn't offload hundreds of thousands of units abroad, the facility would bankrupt the company almost instantly. Because they needed to sell so much volume so quickly, they couldn't rely on scattered international sales. Only one geographical target could absorb that much supply: the United States. The U.S. auto market in the 1980s was an intensely territorial, saturated battleground. It was extremely hostile to unproven newcomers. This matrix breaks down the landscape. The top half, the mid to large vehicle segments, were firmly controlled by American legacy automakers like Ford and General Motors. Drop down to the compact tier, and Japanese imports like Honda and Toyota had already secured the territory. Hyundai knew their cars lacked the build quality of a Toyota and the heritage of a Ford. Attempting a direct head-to-head quality war against either side would be financial suicide. So they looked lower. At the very bottom of the matrix sat the subcompact tier. Almost nobody was fighting there. This is the power of a white space strategy. By targeting a completely empty segment of the market, Hyundai removed the need to win a direct comparison test. They just had to show up. Hyundai realized their actual competition in the United States wasn't new vehicles at all. They were competing against the American secondhand car market. For a buyer in the 1980s on a tight budget, shopping for a car meant navigating severe anxiety. Buying used often meant inheriting hidden mechanical issues, failing transmissions, and worn-out brakes. Hyundai positioned their new export, the Excel, to exploit that fear. They priced a brand new car right off the assembly line at the exact dollar amount of a used vehicle. To close the sale, they added a 5-year warranty. If this unfamiliar foreign car broke down, the manufacturer would fix it. The offer neutralized consumer fears. Americans no longer had to risk their savings on a questionable used car when they could get a spotless new vehicle with zero financial risk for half a decade. The shift in consumer behavior was immediate. Budget buyers abandoned local used car lots and flooded Hyundai dealerships. This line graph tracks their explosive market penetration. They sold roughly 170,000 Excels in 1986, and that number climbed to 260,000 units in 1987. Those numbers broke all existing records for a foreign automaker's debut in the United States. The velocity of those sales wiped out the 7 previous years of losses, transforming Hyundai from a failing division into a highly profitable enterprise. Chung Ju-Young's irrational math paid off. By forcing his company to build far more cars than they could safely sell, he forced them to figure out exactly how to sell them. Today, that desperate startup is the world's 3rd largest automotive manufacturer. Their explosive growth helped transform South Korea's economy, pulling the nation out of post-war poverty and establishing it as an industrial dominant. Achieving scale in a crowded industry doesn't require building a flawless product that defeats the legacy giants head-on. You just have to find the one empty lane they refuse to occupy and drive right through it.